Hi there, and welcome to another episode of The InEVitable. This is MotorTrend's podcast where we talk about the future of the automobile. Where are we going and how are we going to get there? Is it going to be in electric cars? Are cars going to drive themselves? Who are the people that are thinking about this? And, you know, we just like having, let's say, deep thinkers on the show.
Yes.
And today's a very special one because on December 6th, 2021, we recorded the very first episode of The InEVitable, and we've done about 40 since then. And our first guest was a guy named Reggie Watts, and he's back today.
He's our accidental first guest. We actually were trying to have one of the OGs in sort of the automotive, the green thinking, climate change space, Ed Begley Jr. on, and then he had to do
He's
something.
a working actor, so he had to work on December 6th, so we had to postpone his. Also, by the way, I'm Jonny Lieberman. This is Ed Lowe.
Yes.
I say, unlike the original intro with Reggie, which was 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Let's keep this short.
Let's keep it short. We got Reggie Watts. This is going to be a fascinating conversation. We're going to go in a lot of different directions. The big one, though, AI, baby. Let's talk about it.
Reggie.
Hello.
So this is great. This is you're our first guest, and you're our first returning guest.
Yes. Hello. Returning.
And I actually had
right.
some concerns because I was like, is it too early? Like I think this is like our 41st or 42nd episode. And I don't know, but
I was going to just pause you. So, you're on a pretty big late night show.
Mm-hmm.
How frequently should you have a guest back, in your opinion?
I mean, we've had people back 13 times.
Wow.
Right.
I think it doesn't really matter as long as it's, I don't know how booking works, but I'd say by feel alone, when those people have returned, I'm like, oh, that's great. Because they're usually people that you want to have come back.
Right. You don't bring back people you didn't like.
Yeah. It's like, nah, they were like, okay.
let's give him another shot. Try it again.
And maybe we got the wrong angle on.
But I will just to peel back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Ed and I have these weird text conversations about the show. And I'm like, let's get Reggie back. And he's like, no, too soon. And I'm like, what do you mean too soon?
I get it.
So,
Well,
It is something to be mindful of.
but here you are because indeed you were a great first guest. With an apostrophe or an asterisk, I wanna go into, which is.
well, before you say that, hang on. I'm going to keep interrupting you. We also had no idea what we were doing. It was our first show. We did like a 30-minute intro. And then
20. I literally on the drive here, I listened to the episode again. I'm like, oh my god, we talked for 20 minutes.
And what we realized quickly was we don't really like talking to each other.
No.
We've been working together for 12 years. That 20 minutes is probably the longest we've
it
had
was
to
brutal.
talk
I
to
fast
each other.
forwarded to get to the part where I was like, I want to hear what Reggie had to say.
Right,
So
right.
thank God everybody who's listening is like, oh yeah, you guys totally cut your intros now to like 90 seconds.
If
max.
that, if
You're
that.
like, hi, guys.
Yeah.
And then it starts.
Right.
It's us, and now here's the interesting person.
Right. So I'll tell you the interesting part about that first episode is the sort of internal scandal it created.
Yeah.
Because at the
yeah.
time, this thing, the InEVitable was launched with a corporate partner, which we won't name right now.
Okay.
And they were like
Hasbro.
excited, curious, and then they played this episode, and there was a reference about eating an edible and driving a car. That
You were talking about how you had a Tesla and you liked the self-driving aspect of it because if you're stoned,
Yes.
then okay.
well, no. But here's the thing, because I was like, I need to go back through and listen to this episode again because I want to get the frame up. It's your fault, Jonny. You actually
Always my fault.
You made two references to getting a little bit sauced on having a drink or two at dinner and wishing the car could help drive you home.
Yes.
You said that twice. You said that twice before Reggie came up with the.
Well, I've said that many times in my career. Wouldn't it be nice?
I love it.
Wouldn't it be nice to be able to enjoy a wonderful bottle of wine and then not commit a crime getting home?
Gotcha.
You
But
know?
then, anyway, so that whole episode blew up in our face, and the corporate sponsor's like, "Well, you kids cannot be taught. This is I don't care that it's legal in California or 6 other states in the U.S.
Yeah.
This is a no-fly zone for us."
Yeah.
So the
I
irony,
get it.
irony for those of you listening is that this episode is recorded on 4/21. How was your day yesterday, Reggie? How you doing?
Oh, great. I'm doing great. I'm still recovering. It's great.
Put
Yeah.
some Visine in this
Yeah,
morning?
some big Visine. I have an auto Visine mister. I just have to rest my face in a cradle and it just takes care of me. That's great.
No, there's half in jest. We're very excited that you're back. I do want to hear about everything that's gone on since you were here, which was December
6th, although remember, because
December 6th, 2021.
2021, but we had, so that happened,
Right.
and then we took a while to get the episode out,
Right.
probably because our former partner was concerned
Freaking out.
that. Yeah,
Oh, right.
But in between then, you got involved with, I know you went on Ferris podcast, maybe Spikes. You started going to Good Vibes,
Yep.
and then you called me. I don't know if you remember this. You called me, and you're like, "Hey, I just want to thank you. I was so scared about coming out in Hollywood as a car guy." Because I thought that, I love cars, but I thought if I told anybody, I'd never work again.
Yeah.
So how's it been now that you're a quote unquote car guy?
Explain that too. I didn't. He told me that. I was like, "That's awesome. I feel like that's great. This is a welcoming and safe space." But
Yeah.
what did you mean? You felt that people would judge you or something? Or
Well, a lot of the friends that I hang out with, all the circles that I hang out with, they're lower income. Not everybody, but a good portion. Where they're just working really hard, and so I don't like to be overly boastful about.
Look at my Porsche.
Look at the Porsche I have. Isn't that great? Look at how cool I don't have to think about things or whatever. But so there's a little bit of that concern, and that was kind of it. For a long time, it was really hard for me to post a picture of me and my car.
okay.
Because I just didn't want to be a dude posting a picture of me in my car. There's so many of those, and I'm like, I don't know, that's weird. So I picked different ways to represent the car.
You know what? You want to know what I thought it was? I thought it was because you're a musician, you're an artist, and you hang out with other musicians and artists that you'd be judged. In London, the word is if you own a Ferrari, you're immediately considered a wanker. Oh, look at that guy, he's got a Ferrari, And I was thinking does he feel like he's part of this LA scene where owning a car for some reason is like dumb or bad?
Yeah. No, no, I don't think it's that. I think it's there's certain things I'm very comfortable with, like high-end headphones or something like that. I'm very comfortable going these are very expensive headphones, but
How much does a high-end headphone cost?
a high-end headphone,
High-end.
$2,000,
Okay.
something like that.
But not crazy, because I've seen
Not
$10,000 speaker cables.
Oh yeah, you can get. I'm sure you can find a $10,000 pair of headphones, but I would say when you're getting into hi-fi territory, the general cost is $1,500 to $2,500 or something like that for even in-ears. So, yeah. But yeah,
So nuts, but not crazy.
yeah, it's it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but you're that kind of makes sense.
But that's sort of like the cars you have, Porsches, they're a 6-figure car, but it's not a 7-figure car.
Exactly.
There's lots of 7-figure cars you could be
Yes.
buying.
Yes, I was you know what? For me, the thing about Porsche was I think we talked about this last time, but the value proposition in the market that it occupies is very good.
Very high.
For the performance levels of a 992, 911 Turbo S, the next cars that you're looking at with those types of performance numbers, and there are going to be exceptions, of course, but in general, McLaren. 600, 500, 600 grand, something like that. Yeah. And so it's actually kind of a bargain, and it's got so much space, and it's so practical. It's comfortable and people complain about them getting a little bit bigger, but they are comfortable as GT cars, essentially. A Turbo S is a decent GT.
It's a great GT.
Yeah.
At this point, I need a disclosure though, because are you not a Porsche ambassador now?
I'm not. No.
But
no,
you've been on a couple of trips, right?
They were very gracious. They had Tosin and I out for Goodwood, which was a huge honor. That was when we saw the McMurtry,
right?
Spearling. That was great. They a couple other things. Our thing that we
Spain.
did. Yeah,
that was pretty.
That was epic.
Well, I want to hear. I read his story. I want to hear your story. You guys went to. This was spring of last year.
Yeah, we went to Majorca.
Yeah,
and you
not
drove
Majorca.
Right, you drove the Missionar.
Well, no, we rode in it. Yeah, if we rode
passenger rides.
Ride-alongs. I would be terrified to drive that thing. If it was a big, flat, open space, no problem.
Okay.
But that was your first time on a racetrack, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like on a I think I had done the Porsche driving experience, but that's kind of like it's a
miniature.
It is a racetrack, but it's tight
very
and
small.
small.
Well, actually, it's a twisted German psychology experiment. They actually they say that the outer ring on that track, they intentionally make it very narrow.
Yeah.
They give you no runoff and make sure the guardrails are very visible to slow you down. Like they don't want customers who are driving it to think that they can just go hog wild. It's actually made very tight to keep people.
Oh, that's so smart.
Right, very slow.
I love it. And then when you know that, you're like, well, I'm just gonna blow through that.
Right. So did you get to drive anything in Majorca?
Yeah, we drove the Taycan Turbo S Sport Turismo.
Yeah, Sport Turismo. Yeah,
the wagon.
The wagon.
We made a 40-minute video that never aired.
Yeah, but it was really meticulously crafted.
So
it was a craft video.
Where's that video?
I don't know. Somebody has the footage somewhere. I don't know.
Huh.
It was me and Reggie driving all around Majorca and probably imitating Germans.
I mean, it would be great if you release it like 5 years from now.
Right.
Yeah, unseen footage. And that was that's your first automotive. Was that a press? Would you say it's a standard press junket, or is this special because he's here?
I think what they did is they brought in a celebrity from America. They brought in a celebrity from Germany, like the day after us. Something
that's
like
right.
that.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they, I happened to be like in Sardinia the day before,
Right.
and I was like, "Can I come and document it?" Because they got in touch with me. They were like, "Hey, Reggie, we want him to come. We know he likes EVs. We know he likes our Turbo S. Like,
okay,
yeah."
And so we made it happen.
So otherwise, a typical press trip, though, sort of, more or less.
It was just the two of us. It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was like
super
20
chill.
Germans and me and Reggie and Abby from Porsche.
Oh yeah, right.
Abby Brooks.
And we got to meet who is it? The engineering dude, like the guy who does for their concept cars. Like he's the guy that draws up all the sketches up. Met that dude.
Yeah, he was great.
And at dinner, who was there? The big guy.
Well, Holger is he's I think he runs like their motorsports. Or not runs, but he's a big part of their motorsports team.
Yeah.
And then, the other one was Timo.
That's right, Timo.
Timo Glock?
No, Timo Bernhardt.
That's it.
I should look him up.
I think it's Timo Bernhardt.
Yeah, I could look all this up on Instagram in 2 seconds. But
Sandra's brother.
he was the guy who did the 5-minute, 19-second lap of the Nürburgring.
Oh my god. That gave me chills. That was like one of the few times when when someone like says this person did this, and then you're like next to them and also kind of like involved in what they do. I mean, I was like overwhelmed with emotion. I felt like the biggest nerd in the world, but I was like, because I saw that footage, I looked at that video, and that little, what is that thing, that little pass that it kind of ducks down and it gets really narrow on the Nürburgring?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember the name of it, but he blew through that at an insane rate of speed.
Oh, he was like 200 miles an hour in a foxhole or something. I mean, it was just beyond comparison.
Insane.
We were talking to him, and I was like, what was that like? He's like, well, I did a pretty good lap. And he's like, I just felt I could do better now that I had like a one, I forget what it was. It was very fast, whatever it was. He's like, so they said, well, we have a little time. Go ahead. And he's like, afterwards, when he did the 519, he's like, I had so much adrenaline coursing through me that like I couldn't talk to anybody for an hour. I had to just be by myself and like shake for an hour. Like, imagine getting that juiced up for anything.
Oh,
like
the focus on that thing. I mean, it's just like I don't know what it is. It's like meeting a fighter pilot.
Yeah,
it's a similar feeling. Like when I was growing up, we'd have air shows. I mean, the Blue Angels would come through, and sometimes we'd get the was it the Snowbirds? I think the Canadian version,
right?
And they would just they would stand in front of their planes. Like all the pilots would stand at kind of like a resting position at ease in front of their planes, just in a line. And you could back in the day, I don't think you can do it anymore, but now you could just like as a crowd just walk by them and meet them,
right.
And it was like. Because like you've just seen these things do. You're not even two airplanes with their landing gear out, facing landing gear towards each other and rolling.
Right.
Like hundreds and hundreds of feet or 1,000 feet above your head. I mean, that's insane. So I mean, when you meet people that are able to blend with machines like perfect cyborgs and achieve incredible things, like to me, I'm like, ugh.
But you're a musician. Do you get that same feeling with any musicians or any other artists that you meet? Is there anyone that gives you that kind of vibe?
I mean, there are like insane musicians that I get blown away by every day, or I get to play. Even my musicians, Hagar, the bass player, she's like one of the best bass players on the planet. Tim Young is an insane guitar player, like one of the greatest of all time. And so, I mean, my whole band is like that. So, I get that. But there are.
But have you ever seen I've been to a couple shows I can't remember the guy's name. He's an African drummer. I used to work at Cal Arts, and he was professor of drums at Cal Arts, and he did a solo performance one time, and it was so next level.
Yeah,
he was in tune with a frequency that no one else has access to, and he brought us all into it. Or one time I saw Mike Watt performing with his keyboard guy and a drummer, and it just. After 30 minutes, you're like, "Oh my god, that he's doing it!"
It's the greatest feeling in the world. When you're in the room or in the presence of someone doing something great in that moment, and especially when you're playing. If you're playing in a band, you're playing music, and then you can have these. You're thinking about a lot of things when you're performing. It's really weird. You're performing, and people are like, "Yeah, this is great," or hopefully they're saying that's great. But you're performing, but really you're just like. Okay, so tomorrow I'm okay, cool. All right, got that. Holy shit. Oh my what is happening on the drums right now? There are these moments where you kind of scan it, and I did a show on the Late Late Show. I took a music slot and just put this group together. It was all people that had never played together. It was Hagar, my bass player from the show, and Sarah Thawer, who's an insane drummer. She could replace not Geddy Lee, but I forget his name, Neil Peart. Easily.
Really?
And easily.
Is she in a band?
She's amazing. No, she's just her. She's like a hired gun. I mean, she'll probably be in a project at some point, but she's just came from Canada. She's Indian Canadian from India, and she's just. A monster.
Love it. Yeah.
And then this guy Dylan Peralta from a band called Goon, who's just an amazing guitar painter. Just beautiful chords and lush placements of notes and stuff. And so, anyways, we just put it together and we wrote a song in 2 hours. And the next day we played it on air, and it was the first time we'd played it was live on television, and it came together because my instinct was Sarah's a metronomic monster. Nothing can destroy her. She's incredible. And then for Hagar, she's just so fluid and so easy, and her knowledge of music is so great. So anyways, I had no worries. Point is, you're in the presence of incredible greatness, and then it reflects on yourself and inspires yourself. It's pretty amazing.
But you have insight into that world because you yourself are a musician. I feel because, from our last conversation and just some things you just said about these fighter pilots and this race car driver, Timo, Timo Bernhardt, you really appreciate the man machine, the cyborgness.
Yes.
And that's something you feel you don't, you play electrical instrument. Do you feel like you're a robot sometimes?
Oh, 100%. The flow state with gear. There are things that if it's intuitive, if the interface is intuitive, I can hit it. And I feel completely integrated with it. But
it is Timo Bernhardt. Go ahead.
It is Timo Bernhardt.
It's Bernhardt. Hard.
It's my version of Timo. But however, so when you get people driving experimental vehicles, that are tuned up and by an engineering team, as a project for a demonstrator or whatever it is, that sometimes I do get little prototypes of things. But I have to say, most of the things that I get and most of the things that are out there that people think that I would like, if I don't get it, if I don't understand it within about 5 to 10 minutes, it's irrelevant because it's all about interface. And for me, I'm when I look at something, you should be able to look at something and go, oh, it does this. I wonder if it does this. Oh, it does do that. Oh, it probably does this.
Oh, man. I want to dive deep on that.
Article ideas, we get Reggie just to go over infotainment screens and how logical they are.
100%.
We'll get,
I would love that.
Bring them out to one of the
Oh, man.
Any day.
Sit them down.
You want to come out?
I'm out of a job.
Well, actually, so this is great. I want to go into the interface, and you want to talk about your job because here's the thing. And I'm glad you talked about your band on the Late Late Show, formerly named Karen.
Still Karen now.
Not Melissa?
We went back to Karen.
Okay.
It was Melissa for a while when Karens weren't that popular. And then I was like, you know what? I can't have them do that. They can't take it away from us.
Right.
We're going to take Karens back.
Okay. Now, we are recording this on, again, and we rarely talk about time, but let's talk about it. We're on April 21st. The Late Late Show, my understanding is, ends on April 27th.
That is correct. Thursday.
So, and then, well, that's Mr. Corden going.
Yes.
You're sticking around? Like, what do we know?
Well, I'll take over as host. No,
perfect.
Just kidding.
Okay.
You'd be good.
I mean,
you'd be great.
I thought
You're a polyglot. You can talk to anybody about anything.
That's true. I'm just interested
Not what polyglot
in
means,
everything.
but okay.
Yeah. The more poly, the more you glot. Right? Come on.
Your level of knowledge on almost everything surprises me because it's like near expert on like when we were talking about. I mean, you just mentioned the airplanes, but yeah. We were talking about the new stealth bomber.
Yes. Oh my God.
And you were like, oh yeah, this. You knew the name of it. It was like I was like, really?
I just it's terrible. It's like since I was a little kid.
Oh, come on, this
like,
is all in the same vein though. Tell me about womenmen's fashion.
Yeah, okay.
Are you good there? Like espadrilles?
So when de Gauche first released the strapless gown.
See?
Just kidding.
No. So what are you? So what's happening? Are you? Do you stay with whoever the replacement? Aren't they? Are they going to do some subs? Or
no,
whatever?
it's out now, but it's at midnight. It's a show that I've been on a couple times that my friend Chris Hardwick used to host.
Okay.
They're getting a new host, and they're just doing that. So it's going to be this game show, kind of a light celebrity format, mostly comedians or the contestants.
Okay. So, then you are out of a job then on April 27th.
Yeah, I'm a hardcore out of a job, but I'm actually looking forward to it. It's crazy. I feel really like terrible because I'm the type of leaver that just likes to leave, and not
Irish
dwell.
Goodbye, we call that.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm a big Irish goodbye. In my 23andMe, I have a lot of Irish in my background, and I wish I had a little bit more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'll see you guys. That's all I came here. I was like, I hope I get a chance to put that in there.
Yeah.
But because I think everyone's getting sentimental, and you can feel that little bit of a somber, melancholic wave like wafting in and out of the studio and people's faces and stuff. And we're starting to see people get together and starting to take pictures. It's like the end of high school, exactly, graduation, senior year,
right?
Yep.
And very, very eerily like that. Like it's like a flashback. So like our last party, I'm going to Boston next weekend for Satan Con.
Oh, cool.
Which is thrown by the Satanic Temple.
Yeah.
Now everyone's going to be like, this guy's a Satanist. I'm not a Satanist. And neither is the Satanic Temple.
Right. I was going to say, I'm a Satanist in terms of I love what they're up to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So like if you ever watch that documentary, Hail Satan, it tells you everything you need to know about them. They're basically like political activists, essentially. However, they're throwing this convention, and I was like, am I sorry.
No.
And my friend was... my friend Alistair was like, let's go. And I was like, okay, sure. Cause we went to Salem last year for Halloween. And I was like, I just love like doing like the absolute like occult. I'm going to do some occult stuff. Anyways, doing that, but I'm taking a red eye. So it means I'm only available at the going away party for like a half an hour.
Wow.
But they didn't tell me until last minute. So I had no idea because I thought it was going to be earlier. And then I had already planned it. I guess that's it. There's no more. I was about to go down a list, and that's the list. But
how long were you guys on the air?
8 years.
8 seasons.
First show was on my birthday.
Okay.
So every time I have a birthday was the anniversary of the show.
I mean, 8 years is a good run.
8 years is so perfect because I remember when I first started the gig, I was like, maybe 2 years. I'll be here for maybe 2-3 years, something like that, depending.
Sure.
And then it just, whatever. I just kept doing it. And then James thought it was only going to be 5 years, and then it ended up being 8 years. So I think it's the perfect amount of time where we did what we did. I feel good. Everyone gets to move on to something else.
Right.
I'm not 70 years old. Haven't done that gig for 20 some odd years. That was never my goal. And so now I get to really pursue things that I have ideas for.
Can you give us a preview of what you're thinking about?
Yeah, so make sure that door's closed.
These mics are just for show.
Yeah, totally.
It's just a comfort thing.
Don't have the cameras either.
I need to feel comfortable.
I just grab it and just break it. Styrofoam. Oh my god, shit, you're right. It's like, but how are we able to hear through the headphones? So I have so I have my book is coming out.
Oh, sweet.
That's called Great Falls, Montana.
Okay.
And it's not an autobiography. It goes through most of my life, but it focuses on my high school years and all my weirdo post-punk friends. And so there's a lot of that. And I think it's going to be great to get my life out there and have people read about it and go, that makes sense more why he's blah, 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 blah. So that's fun. That's coming out. And then I got an AI show I'm pitching and a sketch show that eventually will get pitched and a couple other things in the works. And I want to approach Polestar.
Okay.
Well, yep, that was a lot.
We should talk about the AI thing.
I want to talk about.
Because-
you're like Mr. Segway. This is great.
Because you remember, I don't know if you remember, you were texting me about if you could ask AI any questions.
Yeah.
And and we went back and forth,
Yeah.
and it was interesting.
Yeah.
So what's your take on AI?
I'm incredibly optimistic about AI.
Ooh,
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm really loving on it. I understand. Like, I'm concerned, but I'm not fearful about AI. Like, there are concerns, but it's all about how you train it, and that's really the thing. It's the ethics guidelines. It's countries getting ahead of ahead of this by putting laws on the books about AI and ethics and things like that. And I'm sure some countries are already enabling legislation right now. The United States is probably going to take like 7 years until it's too late. But it's what's exciting about it is that I really do see it as the digital extension of ourselves. It's a reflection of ourselves, but it's able to do things very specifically, very, very well, very, very quickly, and can help kind of mitigate some of the process, like offload processing, really, from us.
So can I ask? Because we actually touched upon this. I re-listened to the earlier episode. We touched on AI, and you were very positive about it then. Since then, though, what have you specifically? What's been your interaction? What have you been using? And to be clear, we're talking about generative AI, like the AIs that are creating things.
Yes.
Have you been screwing around with like ChatGPT, Midjourney, Lensa, like the visual stuff, the written stuff? Is there a music thing that you're looking at? What have you been doing?
Well, I've used Midjourney, Dall-E,
For visual. So Midjourney and Dall-E are
Stable Diffusion.
Stable Diffusion are primarily for, you can tell it to draw you something.
Yes.
Paint something.
It's a visual,
It's a visual generative AI. Just so you know, when we say, because a lot of people are sort of confused, AI, artificial intelligence, it's been around for a long time.
Yep.
This new version of generative AI means it's creating something. You give it a prompt. The better your prompt is, usually the better the product is. And then they're basically the functionality is enabled by these things called large language models. Basically, whoever programmed the AI has fed it a whole bunch of stuff, millions and millions, huge data set, and the data sets are sort of the differentiators between these, like who's got a better data set, whose data set's actually legal, like whose is filled with copywritten stuff, like whatever, right? Though the functionality of the AI, how good it is dependent on all the programming that goes behind it, but also how well it was trained in these large language models.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'll stop there. So you've been using Dall-E, Midjourney, and so it was
Stable Diffusion.
Stable Diffusion to do visual stuff.
Yeah.
Like what? What were you drawing?
I mean, I've used it a little. Here's my thing. Like, I'll dabble a little bit when something new comes out. I dabble, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and then I'm kind of done.
Okay.
And so with the visual stuff, I tried those. My friend Dr. Alan D. Thompson, who has he's an AI communicator expert. He's involved in AI, but his main kind of mission is communicating it. So he has this thing called the Memo, and it's really great. Like every week, he gives you an update on the state of AI, and he's very
say his name again.
Dr. Alan D. Thompson. He's amazing. And he had this Lida AI. He created an AI that he just like it's a synergy of different AIs working together, or an AI that also puppets an avatar that also has a text to speech synthesizer. So I met with him and somewhere down south. I'm terrible at geography. I'm not going to try. Somewhere down south. Took us 2 hours to drive to, but by the ocean. And
San Diego?
Tijuana.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to say Newport Beach, but go ahead.
It was Lisbon, 2 hours. But you know, like talking to him about, and I went. This is funny. I went with my friend who curates Meow Wolf, and so she represents all of these artists that build things by hand. And we got into this conversation on the drive down there about the fears that artists have about AI taking over their ability to make money doing what they do. And so what was great is visiting Dr. Alan D. Thompson. He was basically saying, like, she thought, as everybody would, that when you give it a prompt, it's going into the internet and it's grabbing knowledge and then it's just spitting back out what it found. But it's really he quantified it. It's like a human being visiting a bunch of art galleries and then someone going, hey, can you paint something that's kind of in classical style using oil paint or whatever? And it's like, okay, well, like this. That's basically what it is. It's doing. So it's training all this data. So my point was that her understanding of what AI could be kind of changed a little bit. It was very, very cool to see that because she's very staunchly not on the side of, she's a very open person, but she was kind of coming from the artist point.
And the artist point of view has been, because we have had to, and we at MotorTrend, I've already asked the guys to come, the team to come up with, I did call it a position paper. Like we put some heads together and just to come up with a stance on it. And it was like, absolutely not to heck yeah, we're on board, and sort of where are we on this scale, right? And there was a lot of ethical concerns, like, are these AI scraping the web? Are they using copywritten material to generate these images?
Right.
Right. You know, and a lot of folks were like, why are we even doing this? And I was like, guys, if we don't have a position on this, someone is going to ram one down our throats. And because our CFO already asked me, she's like, what are you going to do with AI? Content creation. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's smart. I think it's smart to get ahead of it. It's also, in general, good for everyone to get ahead of it, or at least to be in synchronicity with it. Because whatever the state of AI is, instead of being fearful of it, we need to have an opinion about where we would like it to go and what we expect of it and what we expect of how it to be used. Right. And so, you know, GPT-4, when that was released, I got a certificate, or not certificate, but I bought a subscription for access to it. And it's been blowing my mind. I mean, it's as a text base.
Yeah, that's the one we were playing with.
Yeah. Yes, that's right, because it just came out. And I was like, I've got access to GPT-4. Ask me whatever you want, guys.
Right. So what have you been doing?
I've just been experimenting. Like I have this theory about general positive human evolution, like, you know, kind of the pillars of it or whatever. And so I said, like, please write, you know, an overview of my theory of positive human evolution, including quantum computing, fusion energy, AI, and psychedelics. And it wrote this beautiful, like, condensed, like, very, very, very digestible piece of just kind of a roadmap template that I kind of adjusted a little bit, not that much, and it really nailed it. It nailed all the nuance. Like, I didn't have to go into, like, doing the hyper prompting where I'm like, and this and this and this.
So to put in Ed's terminology, it wrote you your position piece.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I use it a lot for, like, if I have ideas and I like to experiment with, well, here's a vague idea. Let me put it down and see how it collates it.
You have like an Apple Notes full of all these ideas?
Yeah.
Like somewhat, really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But so, I mean, I love it in that way, and I really do feel that it's able to, it can bridge things. People are using it to fix code. You know, I've had some friends that have programmers that have like fed and, like, they've been stuck on an area of code, and then they basically describe what they want to have happen, and they give it the code, and it makes these corrections. And sometimes it nails it. Sometimes it's really close, and they just have to tweak it. They have to do a last-minute tweak. But it's kind of a helpful tool in general, and I'm hoping it'll start being used in legislation.
Wait a second. Did it write your book?
It wrote the entire book. Although I was thinking about doing Audible because there's a really great one called 11 Labs, and it's a speech synthesizer, AI speech a clone.
Oh, to
It's a
do your
cloner.
book?
That's
Yeah.
how we did this podcast.
Yeah. Totally.
So, you know.
Well,
That's
hey,
how we do
you
this
laugh, but
podcast.
It's a lot cheaper to pay that than us. Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, you guys started sounding Swedish. What's going on? It's interesting how you.
That would be great. Every chapter is one of your voices.
Hello, welcome to InEVitable.
By the way, we got a bell. That's new since you came back.
This is
great.
our 2023 budget. We got
$8.90.
3 coffee cups and a bell.
$8.99.
Now I can see.
So, okay, but
Well, real quick, what about music?
that's where I was going to go.
Oh,
So,
about
are you
music.
not? But aren't you afraid? You're not afraid at all that the AI is going to? Is there a music? First of all, is there a musical generative AI for music that you've been playing with, and you're not afraid this is going to somehow just demolish the industry you're in?
You know, I think there are certain aspects of the industry that will be affected, such as soundtrack work,
Drum programming? No.
maybe drum programming, but I think it's more like incidental music for commercials or a music possibly for a trailer. Because it's cheaper. So, like, if young filmmakers want to like do a thing, but they want to have something sound like really, really original and scored, ask an AI.
I just had a thought. So we had asked you to write a theme song for the InEVitable.
Let's
do it with AI.
Oh, we should totally do it
Yeah,
with AI.
let's
It'll
do it
do
with
it in
AI.
the style.
Yeah.
I'll see what's out there because I think there's a couple programs right now.
Yeah.
But we can totally do that.
Oh, that'd be
awesome.
great.
And we could. I mean, we can have Amy record the VO.
Yeah, my wife's a VO artist.
Or we could have an artificial voice too.
Oh man, I mean, I have my own voice trained. I still want to keep giving it a little bit more data. By the way, just reminding me, I think the big future in AI is personal AI,
Right.
and I'm hoping that we'll start to see devices like the iPhone or any mobile device have a self-contained AI that's in the device itself that's not networked. So it only analyzes input. So it learns heuristically from your input and your interactions, and it doesn't have to be hooked to the cloud. Because my problem is with AI, with everything being in the cloud, it takes away the power of something to be more personalized. And so with a personal AI being in your phone or something that can also link to other devices, but it's your own trained AI. So essentially it's a digital version of yourself that just has the brain of a supercomputer.
Right.
And so
there's a data privacy situation
yes.
too. If you're right, if it's just on your phone.
Yeah.
But then you're taking me to that movie
Her.
Yeah, which is a great movie.
Oh, a beautiful movie. But
Yes.
that's a dream of mine.
Yes.
Because I was calling that ear computing.
Yes.
So I wanted, because my dream is really to have the AirPod 5s or whatever Pro, that you can have battery life that lasts 2 days. You can keep them in your ears. The passivity is like the neutral, like the open setting is. You don't even notice that they're in there because they're basically like that now. And then when you get messages, You can ask it things and it will respond much, much more quickly because it's not going to the phone, to the cloud, back from the cloud to the phone, now giving you a result. It's just in your phone. So you have an assistant that's there.
This is a Black Mirror episode.
I want it.
That year. So
I'm tired.
why would you even have an AirPod that has to have a battery life? Why wouldn't it be? Would you be open to a hardwiring into your auditory canal?
Here's the thing. As much as I love future stuff and I love cyborgs,
don't cut me.
I love me some cyborgs. But yeah, please don't cut me. Like, please don't cut.
Would you go to Mars?
No.
Me neither.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think about that like
Are we too old?
You're too old.
probably, yeah.
Well,
Although
Well, no, keep going.
no, I'm just saying like there are advancements being made in anti-aging, de-aging. They aged a mouse and de-aged a mouse in the laboratory.
Oh,
Yes.
what's his name? One of the tech billionaires. It's basically the blood of young children is what you need.
Oh well, there's that.
Yes.
Oh my God,
Well,
no,
But
never,
that's an old theme.
never.
But let's keep going down.
Yeah.
Will Reggie Watts, if it were possible, and I read some article that says by 2030 this should be possible, will you have your consciousness uploaded to a computer before you die so you can live forever?
Interesting.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
I don't know if Here's my thing. Why not? It's kind of like
Futurama, your head in a jar, right? Like
oh my
what they're
gosh,
doing, like,
I don't know if I'm interested in that. I think that consciousness and reality itself is so it's something that we're barely starting to understand now.
Do you, as an artist, do you think as a human, do you think in terms of your legacy? In other words, like we're all going to die. You're going to be remembered. You have a better chance of being remembered than most people. And are you starting to think about what is my legacy? And would that influence your decision to be have your consciousness uploaded?
Well, I think this idea of personal AI kind of goes into that. So something that learns me and throughout time, like I have a relationship with this AI and it develops with me in a way that's kind of a legacy, like, because it would know so much about how you respond and react to things and generally how you think and your behaviors. So that's possible. I don't know. I mean, the consciousness thing, like I said, what is consciousness? Because the idea of like, there are some heads frozen out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And if
Ty Cobb.
Yeah. And if we do get the technology to be
Walt
able
Disney.
to refuse, thaw properly and then get that brain back online, is that person still going to be there? Is it that person?
Right.
Is the brain the person, or is the brain some kind of an interface or some kind of?
And there's been a lot of research into like your body actually really does like influence your brain quite a bit. So the
true.
brain without a body might alter the personality radically.
Yes.
So you don't know whether you want.
I don't know if I would. I think if there was a way to non-invasively, like, get your consciousness again, it's so nebulous.
I'll tell you where my take is.
Yeah,
I don't buy the new car in the first year. Like,
okay.
I don't want this to be the. I don't want to be the guy that
for early adopter.
Yes, I would prefer this to be not the Frankenstein. This is 20 years later. Everything's worked out, and we can assure you, Mr.
Sure, with that, of course. Same thing with rockets.
But I want the anti-aging. Because okay, look, have you ever looked at the homunculus man? So it's a visual representation of if your body was sized the way like in other words, you use a huge portion of your brain to see.
Yeah.
So and then you huge to taste and talk. So like your tongue and your eyes would be massive.
Yeah.
And then most of your brain is for your digits, it's your hands.
Yeah.
So it's this really skinny guy with like giant eyes, giant tongue, giant hands, giant genitals.
Yeah.
But nothing else because the brain doesn't really think about your legs a lot. So I'm thinking like I don't want my consciousness without my body. I just want to live forever.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a robot.
I'll agree with that. If that were absolutely possible, I would rather just extend or to have a way to reverse some of the aging damage. That
cellular breakdown and all that. Yeah,
like knees, and
that,
metabolism and those types of things. I'm very interested in that. But yeah, I don't know. The weird thing about copying consciousness of that idea is it just. I mean, if someone made some kind of a breakthrough, I don't know how you do it. I think it would have to be a mimic. I think it would have to be something that it's an approximation. It's a digital copy of yourself behaviorally.
But how it couldn't be that accurate because unless you literally are shining like a flashlight into every corner of your thoughts.
Well, no. So the example there's two examples. One is apparently there's a service already that if you upload a lot of audio or video files of like your grandparents or your dad or something, you could in a future state talk to them, have a conversation with them.
Yes.
And then there was this thing that was widely shared on social media
with Alexa.
The Joe Rogan and interviewing was it Donald Trump, and it was an AI generated version of Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
Because the large language model there was all of Rogan's podcast, which is like years at this point, right?
Yeah.
And it was a little stilted.
Yeah.
But this is like the Chat GPT-2 version of it.
Yes.
In 2 generations, this is all the deepfake fear. So,
yes.
But back to the question because I don't think I heard the answer. As a creative, as somebody who works in the music industry, you're not. You are not.
Oh,
other than...
I'm not really worried about it because I was on stage doing a stand-up set recently, and I said something like, "If AI replaces your job, then maybe it wasn't worth having in the first place." And it's harsh, but the point is, like, if it is replaceable, then, and if you think of it as an offload, like, what is it offloading? What does it give you space to do? As, like, just, obviously people are concerned about their jobs. Writers losing their job, copywriters losing their job, whatever, legal analysts, like people in the legal field are losing their jobs because now, things are being generated at a pretty high level. And so, but I always think, like, what does it free you up to do? So if you're someone who does, like, I do jingles and audio logos, but you still have to prompt. Someone still has to steer and manage quality control on that. It's a human thing. So I see AI as a tool. I used to compare AI to a distortion pedal for a guitar player or whatever. It's like, it's an effect pedal that you can put in between so you have your input, your processing, and your output, and you just put that part of the processing chain. So it's AI is a helpful tool because you can now either choose it as a randomizing thing if you're using something creatively, or you can be hyper specific and just get that idea formatted and out, like, way faster than you could have ever done. And now you get to look at it and be in the creative element of your creative thinking process. It becomes a part of it.
This leads me to one of the few things I've written down for this episode. You did a thing on your Instagram. Misha Mansoor, who previous guest on the show, sent you a pedal, and you recorded a song with it.
Oh yeah.
It was it was one of the greatest songs. That band Tomahawk, Mike Patton.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah.
I was like, this is like a Tomahawk song. And it was just you, like, screwing around with the pedal. Like, what? How to explain that? What did you do?
Well, yeah.
Like, go to Reggie's Instagram and check out. I don't know how you find it.
It's there. It's like you have to scroll.
Horizon back. Devices. Google.
Yeah.
Horizon Devices. Reggie Watts.
Yeah. That would be a Horizon Devices. It was one of those things where I've been wanting to do a hardcore project for so long. I've been talking to Thompson and Misha for a while because I want to get in the studio and just finally make, like, just something really hard and with gross sounding riffs.
I want to play bass. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I just need it. I need that feeling. And so I do a version of it when I do my live comedy things, like a longer show. I usually do some kind of a hardcore element, and even, like, last night I was at this kind of, like, Bukowski-esque hipster from the late 50s looking den of artists doing free love, almost cult-like.
Where was this?
Vibes. It was at this space in Silver Lake, like this rental space, but it's kind of like you can rent it, and all of the furniture in there is for sale because they keep, like, looking for different things. So when you rent it, you never know what you're going to get. You might get, like, some weird chairs, whatever. So this particular event, if I would have taken a picture last night, you would have been like, oh, that could have been on, especially on film. You've been like, oh, that was 1969, 1970? Looked exactly like that. So I was sitting in the middle of this band of kind of aesthetic hedonists, and I was in the middle, and we were all playing together, and it was very kind of cult vibes, like long hair and, like, white dresses and stuff. I was, like, tripping out. Why am I bringing this up? Because we were talking.
The pedal.
The pedal. Yes, right. So I like to do these hardcore things. So we were doing this jam, and I just felt like I could have stayed in kind of a flowy, Middle Eastern, whatever vibe,
right? Drum circle-y, yeah.
But instead, I started kind of like, you can't say what to you say, and it was so cool to just see all these, like, really, like, hippie people going, like, what?
Like needle skip, like,
totally. It was great, but they were digging it. It was awesome.
What do you do with is the pedal just for your voice?
So,
like, what did you?
So the pedal has a kind of a gating mechanism. So when you hear, like, guitars go like shoo, right? It's like they hit a chord, but it, like, cuts off really quickly. It's like
I have that pedal.
Yeah, there are pedals that basically just they just like they tighten it up and they just cut off the signal really harshly, so you get this huge chunk sound. So that's what that pedal was doing.
Djent metal? Is this what we're talking about?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Misha's pedal. Misha's credited with inventing the genre Djent and Djent. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Meshuggah is like that's the holy grail.
Yes.
Of precision.
Yeah.
And execution and, like, brutality. It's amazing. So I love using pedals to try to help my voice. It's very rare. Like I wouldn't. I'm not taking that pedal out. I might someday, but in that moment, I used it, and it gave me exactly what I wanted.
It was just the wildest thing I'd ever. I was like, "What? Like this is just crazy."
So and before we
Chump.
start talking about the pedal, you had mentioned that you said you're not afraid of it for your industry.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
back to AI.
Back to AI. You're not afraid.
AI
You're not afraid of AI. Because ultimately, you'll still need somebody to help prompt and edit and guide and sort of refine this thing, which is great.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I know, you don't have kids. We have kids.
No.
Okay. So,
as far as I know,
what would you tell us to? What should our kids be studying to have a future in this AI universe? Like what? Like my thing is like, my wife and I are like, we should just sell the house and move to a farm, and we should learn how to kill, hunt, and dress. Because we're waiting for the post, the EMP and the apocalypse, and all computers go down, right? It's like,
just real quick, my wife and I never have that conversation.
Okay, so they're not planning ahead. We are.
Okay, I'm just taking notes, guys. What to expect?
Yeah,
right. So then, but for our kids, like, I was thinking, like, he should probably have a really hardcore classics education, know the history, know the Western canon, know all the, because whoever's really good at that could program or could prompt an AI to generate something amazing. And if you're not really smart and invested in the classics or whatever, you just be kind of out to lunch and just doing the same kind of baloney. So I don't know. That's my thought. But any ideas? It's kind of a bigger.
Well, I believe that AI is going to kind of eliminate the need for that level of specificity. Meaning, I think that when AI becomes easy to work with conversationally, that you can bounce ideas off of, it's no different than working with a collaborator that's just very, very well versed in whatever you're looking to cooperate on. And so I think coding in the future, like I always thought the internet itself, how it's been propelled just with such a massive amount of intensity because of capitalism. And so capitalism was the main engine to lay down the railroad tracks of the entire web and how it's functioning currently. So now there's a network that exists. But then AI comes into it, and my idea was that the internet would actually kind of it's like an organism forming. Like the internet forms, and now you have this network, and then you have this nascent AI that we're working on, and that will soon use those networks in real time. They've already started doing this. Right. They've allowed AI to just access real-time information. That will become, it's not sentient, but everywhere and accessible to whatever exists. And so I think for programming, it's going to be about imagination. Like if you want to make a game, like sitting, like if your kid's like 6 years old and it's like, let's make a game today. Okay, what kind of game would you like to make? I want something that's like a park, a beautiful park. Like remember that trip that we took last weekend? It's like, oh yeah, something like this. Like, oh, that's really beautiful. We've seen it in sci-fi movies, like when people are generating things and they're just speaking, whether it's Tony Stark, whatever. But something even more fluid and multimedia. And I think that it's going to be more about your imagination, your ability to communicate what you want, and then feeding back off of what's provided.
So you don't think, because you don't think I have to be, or there's no advantage if you can say like, I want a game in a park. It needs to be Paris, Jardin, Luxembourg.
Sure.
1962
100%.
In the spring.
100%.
Oh, okay.
No, I think that specificity is good. I think like just learning like basic human history, what we've done, why we do what we do. I think that those are incredibly important because that creates a language base. So you have like a greater, it's like we're all AIs too. AI is just a reflection of how we process and live life and so forth. It's just able to do specific things much, 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 much more quickly and more differently, kind of, but similarly to us. It's like it's us, but we're projecting ourselves out thousands of years without having to actually do that. So we're creating like a hyper evolution within our lifetimes, which is insane.
Hey AI, I'd like to tell me what car to buy in the style of an early 2000s automotive journalist, obscure automotive journalist by the name
right
Jonathan Lieberman. So there you go.
We can try it right now.
All right.
Oh boy!
Let's
wow,
do it.
live.
So we're gonna do GPT-4.
Okay.
We're gonna go GPT-4.
They need a better name, GPT.
Well, it's
just
science.
saying. Maybe you could ask it to write it. Think of a better name for it.
Oh, not me. He did.
Oh no, you had the thing. I want to see what it comes up with.
All right, what was
ready?
the question?
You got it?
Yeah. Hey, write me a car review in the style of an early 2000 automotive journalist from America.
Okay.
I think so. It would be too general. It's going to read like every.
Let's see.
Okay, here we go. Boom.
Oh boy!
Wow. So it says 2003
By
Chevrolet.
Johnny.
By a guy named Johnny.
Wow.
Johnny.
2003 Chevrolet Corvette Z06, a true American sports car icon by Johnny. What's in quotes? It's Rat Rod.
Johnny Hot Rod Thompson. Oh, actually, it's great because this is exactly the thing we're trying to tell people not to do.
Yeah.
Picture this. You're cruising down Route 66 with the wind in your hair, the sun dipping below the horizon, and the sweet rumble of a V8 resonating through the air. That's the quintessential American driving experience, and there's no car that embodies this better than the 2003 Chevrolet Corvette Z06. That is the opening paragraph. That is insane because that is literally, we call that, what is our copy editor, Jesse Bishop, makes fun of people when we write that way. He's like, there I was, sniping the apex.
No, it's penthouse letters is what it is.
Yes. Oh my god.
That's what it is.
That's
no, because I
frightening.
did a thing. I had Chat GPT, whatever it's called, write a car review.
Yes.
And it was.
I remember that.
Couldn't do it. It could get like almost there, but it couldn't like actually describe what it was like to drive the thing.
The last mile. The most important last mile.
Yeah,
Right.
The intro was incredible. Like the intro was like it was great. You know,
And this is great because we did these are awesome guests. Brought it all the way back. We actually did a live demo. I mean, we did a live demo with an AI on the show.
Yeah.
And we centered it back around cars. So I'll just tell you.
he worries about that. I'm like,
do.
whatever.
I'll just tell you what we've been doing at MotorTrend around AI, just to get your reaction. So Johnny did do the first prose experiment by writing about the Supra using ChatGPT, but he wasn't the first to do an AI experiment. Our man Alex Kirstein, who lives up in Washington, he's a big Midjourney guy and Dall-E and for the visuals. So he's been doing it he's also like a Star Wars guy, so he was doing all sorts of like fan stuff.
Yeah,
ships.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, what because
Falcons.
I actually saw him posting. I'm like, what are you doing with this? And he's like, oh, and then we said, let's do some renderings. So back in the summer, we had him pull up, I can show you actually. We said, hey, it wasn't the first one, but one of the big ones was everybody's doing an SUV. Every sports car is doing an SUV, like luxury, exotic, right? Urus, Ferrari. It's like, what if Corvette did one? So we said, hey, Midjourney, draw us the Corvette SUV. And then we said, draw us a Corvette SUV, like ZR2 edition, right? Uh-huh. They came out really well. They came out surprisingly well. We wrote the article. We disclosed what we did in the we used an AI, and then we posted them on social media. And the response was even better. People love them. The comments were like, "Oh my god, I love it! I totally buy it." The really eerie thing is nobody cared that we used an AI. Nobody, it never came up.
That's interesting.
So real quick, this is when
good and bad.
This is when we didn't publish, but we said, "Hey, Midjourney, do an electric TRX."
Oh my gosh,
And
I love how the grill's just a little off, and then there's a giant.
Not only is there a giant
steer,
but then they put like raptors running down the side.
Oh my lord!
And
that
it's
is
just
like,
I was like, Alex, can I just put that on Instagram because it's so wild?
It's not wrong.
Yeah,
So here, and we'll post these into the story. So we said, hey, what would a Corvette ZUV look like? And this is 2 generations ago, I think, of Midjourney.
Yeah.
So because this is December of
the dirt on the tires.
Yeah. So it's
that looks completely right.
I would drive that. Right.
That looks right.
Yeah.
And here is the existential threat, right? Because MotorTrend would normally hire an illustrator, an artist, right? We would hire somebody, and we would probably spend between $500 to $1,200 per angle. Midjourney is a $30 a month subscription.
I know,
unlimited.
I know.
So,
I know. That's pretty hot.
Right?
That's hot.
These are hot.
If they went that direction,
but there's like obviously horrible things. Like if you go back, and I know
right?
if you're
really
listening on your car, you can't.
It's a little melty.
Well, no, but it's got like an intake vent
on the door.
On the door.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying-
Toyota Sienna has one of those.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know what I mean. So it's like it's just. I mean, look, you can program that out. Like you know, you wouldn't put a vent there. On a 4-door, you'd put a vent there on a 2-door because there's an engine back there.
Well, you imagine like that's a casual ask, right?
Yeah.
But then you imagine like someone who is a car designer working with a specialized program and be like, here's the history, here are the schematics from the last 2-3 generations. We're looking for these elements. Blah 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 blah.
Well, I'll tell you because we kicked off this season of the InEVitable with Franz von Holzhausen, head of design for Tesla. And as a prep, I was like, I was really freaked out. I'm like, what are we going to ask him all these questions?
He was really freaked out
because he's a big deal. And I asked Alex Kirstein, our AI specialist. I'm like, hey man, could we maybe have the AI generate some next generation Teslas? Like, what's the next generation Model S? What would that look like?
Yeah.
What would the And he's like, we can do it. It's not going to really work. It misses. It's good at when you give it a reference point. It can do good stuff, but it's not really good at super original stuff. So,
I see, yeah.
So we put in like, what would a Tesla Model S look like if it had like Cybertruck influence? So what did we get? We got a chunky slab-sided Model S, which Franz would never do. Like this Tesla would never do that. Or we said, okay, fine. What's a more recent style of Tesla Model 3? So what if you did a Model S with Model 3 vibes?
Yeah.
What'd you get? A large Model 3, right?
I see. Yes.
So this is where I think true creatives, the real designers, like you still have some time until ChatGPT 6 shows up or whatever.
100%.
But see, I like and you know about Zinger and like the iterative design they're doing, which is because
manufacturing
because it's fantastic because they're like, all right, we need a part that fits into this space. Here's how much load it needs to take in these directions.
It needs to weigh this much and use this material.
Here's the price point.
Yep.
Right.
And then the computer just evolves it.
Yeah.
And it comes up with
analyzes
bird
markets,
bones.
material availability,
they don't
supply chain.
Right. They don't care what it looks like at the end of the day. It's just like, can it get this done?
Yeah.
Look
And,
like?
but it looks like alien technology made of bird bones.
Yeah, totally. It's absolutely mind blowing. That car. I mean, and I love what they're doing. Essentially, the car is just a demonstrator model for their manufacturing technique. It's not necessarily about the car. It is. They care about the car.
Yeah.
But it's more like, look what we can do on a manufacturing level, and we can scale this up.
Right.
We can
By the way, we're getting the high sign.
No. Well, we got 5 minutes left, and I do want to make sure we cover. And you got to go. We got we cover. So you're doing a book.
Doing a book.
You got you have an AI show that you're pitching. It's like just around. You're trying to get.
I'm working with a production company, Westbrook, and we're going to be pitching hopefully in the next few weeks. So we're just fine tuning the pitch deck.
And you want to get into studio, do some thrash metal or something with.
I've got to do that.
I'm sneaking in somehow. Just
yeah.
so you know.
Please.
I'm going to come in.
Come on in.
All right.
Come on in. We'll record. We'll record.
Yeah.
We'll have a good time.
What else we plug in?
What else you plug in? Also, I want to know any other automotive interests because I do feel like maybe we helped you a little bit get into some
100%,
stuff. So,
100%.
like, where do you want to go? Can we get you into
Pebble? He did a review too.
I know.
I want to. I'm really big into Polestar right now.
Oh, that's right.
I'm really feeling Polestar.
What about Polestar?
The new one they just released in Shanghai. That one.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. The 4.
Why Polestar? I don't know.
I like. Well, I'm in alignment with their closed loop manufacturing. And they're being very aggressive about it, and they have this mono material on the inside,
Closed loop manufacturing, for those listening,
it's when you're able to recover almost, or like, let's say 80 to 100% of the materials that go into an object. So similar to like if you had an iPhone, you're like, I want a new iPhone, and you trade in your iPhone and they give you money, but then like a robot disassembles it and retrieves 80% of it and recycles it and puts it into new iPhones.
Right.
So
we talked about it with Reka Mina. They also call it, because Polestar is part of Volvo, circular manufacturing.
No,
I know.
Well, Apple calls it closed loop for theirs, but yes. But that idea of essentially recovering as much as you can of what you put into your products, and so there's just so smart about they're labeling all of their materials. Every single piece of material that goes into a Polestar is labeled, so they know the quality and where it would what it would take and where it goes in order to be reused. And I love that they're thinking about this, yet they're also thinking about performance, and they're kind of coming up after Porsche a little bit.
Finally, because the Polestar 2, I was like, you're supposed to be a performance brand, yet you have no performance to speak of.
Exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
that's why. Well, hey,
the 5 is going to be the one.
Yeah.
The 4 is like they're kind of a bread and butter world market attack machine. Hopefully, the lack of rear window.
So do you know the Polestar PR guy? Have you met JP?
No.
Oh.
Hi, JP.
Right.
Listen,
yeah.
we'll send you this.
I'm down.
I'll do a text as soon as we're done.
Oh, I mean, I would love that. Yeah. I just like it, and I like their design. Their aesthetic is really good, and if the performance numbers start to equal, things that we all love, and which I think they can. They have all the engineering, and I think that's because I love electric cars, and I would love to drive a Polestar 5. If it's groovy, like it looks like it's supposed to be. And it's got those power numbers, just the performance numbers, and obviously a car. We talk about this all the time. It's like it's not about speed, blah blah. It's about how it feels. If if it feels great to drive, and man, I'm all about it. I love it. They're great. So there's that. Yeah,
great. Well,
very cool.
Any other thing you want to? What's in your any other boxes?
Besides the inevitable AI generated theme song.
Oh right, yes, which I'm excited about.
That's gonna be fun.
Anything else we can help you check off your to-do list? Any car events?
Yeah.
Are you going? Are you big in F1s that kind of having a moment?
I need to finally go to an F1. I mean, bring really good earplugs, but I definitely need to go to an F1 event. Finally.
If you sit in the Paddock Club, it's very quiet inside.
Oh,
and
is
the
it?
Gin and tonics flow.
Oh, okay,
it's
everything is just little
So
hors d'oeuvres and snacks.
If you sit in the
It's a
Paddock
dream.
Club, you might as well be sitting at home watching.
I know
in
that's
your
what
underpants.
I mean.
So.
Do you have a bartender at home?
No,
How
I
much
do. I do
money
not.
are you making?
Not as of yet. Not as of yet. I'm looking. It'll be a smart bar, though.
Right.
Choline, like spirulina, wheatgrass.
Okay.
My
well,
faves.
we might be able to help you with an F1 race. We've been helping.
I'd love to
do some stuff.
Yeah.
But,
I just want to see those machines.
Yeah, actually, you might be out of town, but we'll talk. We'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk.
After the show.
Well, this is great. So
inevitable.
it's
Oh,
way to end it. Our first returning guest, and unfortunately, this felt too short. So
Again,
we're
too
gonna
short.
have to
Sorry,
have
man.
you back on again
for the 6 hour.
Yeah,
I'm down. Yeah, I'm always down. It's great. It's great to talk
Maybe
about
we could
stuff
get
I love.
holograms of us, and then like AI generate the conversation, and we could just curate while.
I love it. Yes, this is
With our beverage or edible of choice.
It's like the Facebook metaverse. We don't have any. Our entire lower body is missing. So this is great.
Jesus Christ.
Reggie Watts, thank you so much for
Yes.
being on the show.
Oh, my
Awesome.
absolute pleasure, guys. Yes. Yeah.